flattered and happy to speak about my country and to present the history and the great history of 3,000 years of Tunisia. Importantly, me and Claudia, we have tried to share my screen, but it doesn't work with my camera off. I don't know if this technical issue with my laptop or it's with Zoom. So I'm going to start sharing my screen now. I hope you will enjoy the presentation and it will not be very boring or something, and you will enjoy it as I enjoyed doing this for you. Let's start now. Okay. Can anyone see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Now, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Tunisia, 3,000 years of Hadhara, which is the Arabic word for civilization. Tunisian culture is very diverse and is a product of more than 3,000 years of history and important multi-ethnic influx. Ancient Tunisia was a major civilization crossing through history. Different cultures, civilizations, and multiple successive dynasties contributed to the culture of the country over centuries with varying degrees of influence. We are going to start with an overview, and there we are going to, this is our plan, this is the plan of our presentation, and then we are going to go from the antiquity times to Tunisia now in the 21st century. We are going to start with the quick overview of Tunisia for those who doesn't know the country geographically and historically. So Tunisia is a country in the Maghreb region of North of Africa, or Maghreb. Tunisia is the smallest country in North Africa. It contains the eastern end of Atlas Mountains and the northern reaches of the Sahara Desert. Its population was 11.7 million in 2019, and the capital and largest city is Tunis, located on the northeast coast, which lends the country its name. Native language of Tunisia is Arabic, and we have our own Tunisian dialect. The name actually came before Tunisia. The territory's name was Ifriqiya or Ifriqiya or Africa, which gave the present-day name of the whole continent of Africa. So the name of Africa for the whole continent originally came from Tunisia, which was named Ifriqiya. Moving to the northernmost point of Tunisia, which is actually considered as the northernmost point of Africa, and this is the gift triumph from the UNESCO, which is still now in the this area called Cap Angela, and is northernmost of Tunis and the final point of the whole continent African. We are going to start with the antiquity time and with the Berber amazing culture. The overwhelming majority of Tunisians, in fact, are Berber descent. The Berbers' Greek word means foreign. They got this name from the Arabs who arrived at the end of the 7th century and sought to distinguish the Berbers from those who had adopted Roman and Byzantine culture. The ancient Egyptians knew them as the nomads, and the Romans called them Africans. Berbers are ethnic groups began to widespread during antiquity time, and they have their own language and traditions. This is their flag, and they still use it until now. This is actually a picture of an old woman in Amazigh or Berber culture, wearing the Amazigh tradition clothes and doing tattoos on her face, and they actually using their tattoos with their different language on their bodies. Any place in their bodies, they're using their tattoos on that. And as a matter of fact, this symbol, I believe that everyone, or at least some of you know, is familiar with this symbol, which is known as the word khumsa, or Ain of Fatima, or Fatima hand. This actually symbol first came with the Amazigh or Berber culture. As a matter of fact, until now in Tunisia, we still have small Berber or Amazigh groups lives in specific areas, and they still wear like all Amazighian people and still talk their language. And for this reason, our Tunisian dialect is very different from the standard Arabic language because it's mixed with the old Amazigh language. This is a photo of my dearest friend, which is a modern photo for her wearing Amazigh or Berber clothes and doing fake tattoos on her face. Amazighian people actually lived for decades in Tunisia until the coming of the Arabs at the end of the 7th century, where they had several wars. One symbol known for these wars was Al-Kahina, or as some historians call her, the first leader feminist in the history. So, who is Al-Kahina? Al-Kahina is a legendary figure in Berber lore, the widow of a tribal chief from the Aras Mountains in Algeria. She defeated Hassan ibn Aman, the famous Islamic leader, and pushed back the Arab armies for years. She occupied large parts of North Africa and not only Tunisia. One of the famous myths actually that we heard when we were children is when Al-Kahina thought that the Arabs wished to conquer North Africa only because of its wealth. She carried out brutal and disastrous decision. She ordered all the Berbers living in Tunisia to destroy the cities, orchards, and herds of sedentary Berbers. She actually burned everything to make Tunisia a desert. Al-Kahina until now, still now, a symbol of courageous bravery and leadership. Back then, she ruled the whole region of the north of Africa by herself, and she refused to get married again. This is a famous photo of Al-Kahina, painting actually, not photo, famous painting of Al-Kahina. Moving to Carthage, the beginning of a great empire. Phoenicians began to arrive in the 20th century, establishing several settlements, of which Carthage emerged as the most powerful by the 7th century. It was a major mercantile empire and military rival of the Roman Republic. Carthage actually was the capital city of the ancient Carthaginian civilization on the eastern side of the Lake of Tunis now. Carthage was the most important trading hub of the ancient Mediterranean and one of the most affluent cities of the classical world. The city developed from a Phoenician colony into the capital of the Punic Empire. The legendary Queen Alisa is regarded as the founder of the city. She was a princess of Tyre, now known as Lebanon. According to historian accounts, she escaped from Tyre and came to North Africa and purchased from a local tribe the amount of land that could be covered by an enceinte, imagine. And she kept expanding and expanding until she formed the map of Tunisia now. This is a famous statue of Alisa, which is now exists in the National Museum of Tunisia. What is not known for everyone, or for some of you, that Carthage was the first democratic republic in the history. Carthage actually has the first constitution and the first republic in history of mankind, has the first government, first democratic election, and first legal court. This is a very famous painting of how Carthage used to look like, with the Punic art, with the Punic area here and the harbor from this side. And at the top here, there exists a cathedral which looks like this. This cathedral actually is a famous cathedral, still exists now in Tunis, and it is considered as one of the oldest and famous cathedral in Tunisia. This is how the monuments of Carthage now looks like in Tunis. And here I have a funny photo of me in the Carthage area, in actually the legal court. And this is a statue of a judge, and I'm at the top of his head. And you can see behind me the monuments of Carthage. And here you can see the harbor and the old area of Carthage. What is known, on the other hand, is that the Carthaginians were particularly cultured, and that the libraries were numerous in the Punic capital, and they were interested in several arts and musics. We have until now this amazing amphitheater Carthagine monument, which called Amphitheater of Carthage, and we are using it now as for our annual festival called the International Festival of Carthage. Polybius, which he was a Roman historian himself, recounts that after the destruction of the city by the Romans, the books of Carthage were abandoned to the African princes, Rome retaining only the books of the first agronomist in history, Magon, books considered as the greatest prize of war from Rome from Carthage. As Carthage was the major mercantile, as I said, and a military rival of the Roman Republic, many wars have declared between the two empires. Although Rome had won the First Punic War, revengeism prevailed in Carthage. Hannibal's crossing the Alps was one of the major events of the Second Punic War and one of the most celebrated achievements of any military force in ancient warfare. Hannibal managed to lead his Carthaginian army over the Alps and into Italy to take the war directly to the Roman Republic, bypassing Roman and Allied land garrisons and Roman naval dominances. For over 2,000 years, historians have argued over the route used by General Hannibal to guide his army: 30,000 soldiers, 37 elephants, and more than 15,000 horses over the Alps and into Italy in just 16 days, conducting a military ambush against the Romans that was unprecedented in the history of warfare. Hannibal Barca was a Carthaginian general and statesman who commanded Carthage's main forces against the Roman Republic during the Second Punic War. He is widely considered as one of the greatest military commanders in the human history, and this is the statue of Hannibal. As for the event of crossing the Alps, during my research, I found this funny picture that imagine this crossing the Alps now, this event happening now during using the social media, during using the news, and we pop up a breaking news saying that Hannibal has crossed the Alps. It's amazing how this event happened, and actually this famous story was and still the inspiration of nowadays commanders and leaders, as they always refer to the famous saying of Hannibal: if you cannot find a way, we will make a way. Carthage actually was defeated by the Romans, who occupied Tunisia for most the next 800 years, renamed Carthage to Africa for the first time. During the Roman period, Tunisia enjoyed a huge development. The economy, mainly during the empire, boomed. The prosperity of the area depended on agriculture, mainly as called the granary of the empire. The Romans introduced Christianity and left architectural legacies like the amphitheater of LL.M. It is listed by UNESCO since 1979 as a World Heritage Site and is unique in Africa. As other amphitheaters in the Roman Empire, it was built for spectators' events, and it is one of the biggest amphitheaters in the world. This is an above sky image of the amphitheater, and let me take you in a quick tour, 3D tour actually, for the for the amphitheater. Okay. You can see how this place is very huge and large. It's really amazing. I've been there twice and I really enjoyed the view and everything's there. Okay. So after several attempts, starting in 647 years, Muslims conquered all of Tunisia by 697, bringing Islam and Arab culture to the local population. They founded the first Islamic city in Northwest Africa called Kairouan, or as we call Kairouan. It was there the Mosque of Aqba, or the Great Mosque of Kairouan, was constructed. This mosque is the oldest and most prestigious sanctuary in the Muslim West, with the oldest standing minaret in the world. It is also considered a masterpiece of Islamic art and architecture. This is a quick photo of how the mosque looked like. Also, the Ottoman Empire, or as we call the Turkish Empire, established control in 1574 and held sway for over 300 years. The transition from Latin-speaking Christian Berber society to a Muslim and mostly Arabic-speaking society took over 400 years and resulted in the final disappearance of Christianity and Latin in the 20th century. The majority of the population were not Muslim until quite late in the 9th century, and vast majority were during the 10th century. Initially under the Turkish rule, Tunisia became in effect an autonomous province under the local bey. Under its Turkish governors, the beys, Tunisia attended virtual independence. And this is a very old photo for a bey of Tunis, because the rulers back then in Tunisia was where they used to be called the beys. And you see in this picture the influence of the Turkish culture with the mustache, with the hat, and as you saw me in the beginning of the presentation, I'm wearing a hat like this, and even the whole posture of this was the influence of the Turkish culture. In the 19th century, actually, the rulers of Tunisia became aware of the ongoing efforts at political and social reform in the Ottoman capital. The Bey of Tunis then, by his own lights but informed by the Turkish example, attempted to effect a modernizing reform of institutions and the economy. Tunisian international debt grew unimaginably, and this was the reason or pretext for French forces to establish a protectorate in 1989. Et les Français. In 1869, Tunisia declared itself bankrupt, and an international financial commission took control over its economy. In 1889, as I was saying, the French invaded with an army of about 36,000 and forced the Bey to agree to the terms of 1889 treaty. And with this, Tunisia was officially made a French protectorate. The French actually introduced many institutions, especially in education in Tunisia. This became a strong vehicle for dissemination for the French language, which quickly became a marker of social advancement and openness to more modern and liberal values. Until now, French is the second language in Tunisia. And independence, finally. After more than 50 years of manifestations and protestations from the Tunisian people against France, Tunisia achieved independence from France on 20 March. And that's why actually I chose this period to do the presentation, because last week we celebrated our annually independence. This independence actually happened with Habib Bourguiba as a prime minister, as you can see his picture right here. and 22nd March, as I was saying, is celebrated annually as Tunisian Independence Day. A year later, actually, Tunisia was declared a republic with Bourguiba as the first president. Habib Bourguiba is a symbol in Tunisia, and he was a Tunisian lawyer, nationalist leader, and statesman who led the country as prime minister of the Kingdom of Tunisia, then as the first president of Tunisia. Prior to his presidency, he led the nation to independence from France, ending the 70 years old protectorate and earning the title of supreme combatant. Tunisian soldiers fought for years with their people to achieve the independence of Tunisia. This is a very famous photo here, said we are ready to fight for our country and our dignity. Until the last fight, or as it's called as the Bizerte crisis, which was occurred in July 1961, when Tunisia imposed a blockade on the French naval base at Bizerte. Tunisia hoping to force its evacuation, the crisis culminated in a three-day battle between French and Tunisian forces that left some 6,300 Tunisians and 24 French dead, and eventually led to France ceding the city and naval base in Tunisia in 1963, and this is the city of Bizerte, from where I came from and when I was born in Tunisia. Zine al-Abidin bin Ali ruled Tunisia after the era of Bourguiba. In accordance with Article 57 of the Tunisian Constitution, the anniversary of Ben Ali's succession, 7 November, was celebrated as a national holiday. He was consistently re-elected with enormous majorities every 5 years, the last being 25 October 29, until he fled the country amid popular unrest in January 2011, where the revolution began. Ben Ali and his family were accused of corruption and plundering the country's money. Economic liberalization provided further opportunities for financial mismanagement, while corrupt members of the Trablsi family controlled much of the business sector in the country. The First Lady Leila Ben Ali was described as an ambitious shopaholic, who used the state airplane to make frequent unofficial trips to Europe's fashion capitals. Tunisia refused the French request for the extradition of two of the president's nephews from Leila's side, who were accused by the French state prosecutor of several corrupt crimes. Ben Ali's son-in-law, Sakhr al-Matri, was rumored as being primed to eventually take over the country. The Tunisian Revolution was an intensive campaign of civil resistance that was precipitated by high unemployment, food inflation, corruption, a lack of freedom of speech and other political freedoms, and poor living conditions. Labor unions were said to be an integral part of the protest. The protest inspired the Arab Spring and wave similar actions throughout the Arab world. This is a famous photo, was circulated in the revolution of Tunisian revolution of a man carrying out an empty cage with no birds in it, as explaining that the birds is free now and the country is free now. And from the revolution until now, from the revolution until now, we are celebrating 10 years of revolution, and we celebrated this this big event on 14th January. And in 10 years, Tunisia has had 4 presidents, 5 governments, and 3 elections. And in 2015, the Tunisian National Dialect Quartet Democratic won the 2015 Nobel Peace Prize for its work in building a peaceful, pluralistic political order in Tunisia. Tunisia now is generally known for tourism because of its sandy crystal water beach, as you can see here, and its historical villages and stunning seaside towns like Sidi Bou Said, as you can see here, which the European called it the Little Greece. Also, Tunisia is known for its large desert, which in one of these cities they filmed the famous Star Wars film. the city called Tatooine and was dubbed for Luke Skywalker's home planet across various Star Wars films. And along with this, the delicious, unique cuisine and the vibrant, warming folklore of the Tunisian people. I can end my presentation by a quick video of the TikTok video or from from famous Tunisian photograph, which can summarize the 3,000 years in just 20 seconds. And let me share this.
Okay.
And that's it. Let me stop sharing my screen so you can see me. And hi again.
Thank you so much for such a comprehensive presentation of Tunisia's history and a beautiful way to end it with the visual. So I appreciate it. At this time, we will turn it over to questions. So as I mentioned, you can either use the chat or unmute yourself and ask your question directly. A lot of people.
Professor Wadia was present in the presentation. Oh, thank you, Professor. Thank you very much. And for the question of Emir, I'm reading the chat right now. Could give us Tunisia's view on the current Libya conflict. I don't know if Emir's still here, but I will maybe text him with my response over the conflict, Libya's conflict. I don't understand his question very well because we don't have such conflicts with Libya, but I will ask him afterwards and see what he was meaning by this question. Thank you, Linda. Thank you very much, my sister.
Any final questions before we end the presentation? All right, well, you informed us quite. We're now all inspired to go visit. And
I think so, yes.
But yes, thank you so much. And as I mentioned, we'll have this on the YouTube site in the next day or so. But thank you all for joining us. And hopefully we'll see you at our next presentation next Tuesday with Linda, who's actually here with us, who's going to present on Tanzania. So we hope to see you then, also at 1 o'clock.
Another African country, yay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.